And this gentleman that we have with us today has done exactly that. It's my greatest privilege to welcome Mr. Siyavuya Manyonga, who's our guest speaker today. I'm born in Pretoria and raised in East London in the Eastern Cape. He attended and matriculated at the Merrifield College in East London. He's a very tenacious and hardworking student. Siyavuya managed to obtain six distinctions in matric with an average of 88%. Sia was in the top 1% of the grade 11 IEBT mathematics and matric. He was also in the top 1% nationally for his SIXXOSA for IEB schools. During his matric year, Mr. Manyonga got to serve as a member of the Student Representative Council in 2022. His love for mathematics and his interest in applying his mathematical interest in the real world situation has led him to study a Bachelor of Business Science in Actuarial Science. Guys, we have an actual scientist in the midst of our company. He's currently studying that degree at the University of Cape Town. Siyavuya obviously also has an interest in some music. He loves playing the marimba and has been playing in that band for 3 years. Siyavuya, a very warm welcome to you to the Future Global Leaders Club. How are you?
Greetings. I am very well, thank you. And how are you?
Fantastic. We're looking forward to having this discussion with you. I mean, we've obviously looked at these two videos that I'm sure you can probably relate to as you journey through the past 5 years of being in high school and you landing up at UCT, which is a premium academic institution internationally, and studying the career of your dreams. I'm going to give you this platform to chat to our Future Global Leaders Club members, and then we'll do a question and answer session later on.
Thank you. Before I begin, I just want to thank the president, Ms. Vanessa, and the founder for giving me this opportunity to give you guys a speech and share my experience of high school in somewhat a way to inspire you guys to also do well and achieve even better than I did. So, I am Siyavuya Manyonga. I am from the Eastern Cape, East London. I'm currently a first-year student at the University of Cape Town studying actuarial science. As you guys know, before university, I was at Merrifield College, situated in East London, Eastern Cape. I was there from grade 3 to grade 12. I actually matriculated with 7 distinctions. The 7th one was AP Maths, which was obviously an external subject. In grade 11, I initially planned to become a chartered accountant, but as time went by, I saw that the field would soon become overpopulated and AI would obviously take over because of its intelligence with finances and mathematics. However, what's different with actuarial science is that we don't deal with just mathematics. We use mathematics to analyze future events and solve financial risks, and obviously communicate that in financial terms. Let's begin. So having watched the lion mentality video, the key pointer found there is that the lion was just an average Joe. It wasn't the smartest, wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest. But what sets him apart from the other animals was that its mentality was very strong. It would go to the lion even though it's the biggest, and the lion would actually run away from the lion. So the elephant, sorry, the lion would obviously chase the elephant, and the elephant would run away from the lion. And you can see that mentality difference was what set you apart from other individuals. So in my high school career, my mentality was the foundation that built the success I achieved at the end of matric. I can tell you, back in grade 8, I was definitely not an A student. I was, in fact, a B student. My marks were fluctuating between 78 and 79%. However, because of the closeness to 80%, I was like, why not just try a little bit harder and get that 80% in grade 9? So grade 9 was my turning point, and ever since then, I was an A student. So basically, now that you have the mentality, you need to realize, okay, what do I need to achieve with this mentality? You must set an end goal, like the eagle. You need an end goal to work towards. So my end goal, obviously, back in grade 8, was to achieve an 80% aggregate. And I asked myself, okay, now that I have an end goal, how do I get there? What resources can help me get there? And in answering those questions, I used a SWOT analysis, which helped me assess my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So going on to the SWOT analysis, basically I first identified my weaknesses, which was biology, chemistry, and English. English was the worst one because I was not even getting 70s for that subject back in grade 8. So I decided I need to spend more time on these subjects that I was weak in. And after identifying those weaknesses, I then turned to identify my strengths, which were maths, accounting, and physics. And I assessed the time I spent on these subjects because I assume I was spending more time since the marks were much higher than the other ones. So then I decided to cut down some of the time I spent on these subjects to spend more time on my weaker ones so that I could average, sort of balance the marks. And then after doing that, I then identified the opportunities that were available to me. So basically, these were extra assistance from teachers after class, asking questions, attend workshops offered at school. So I know many of you might be afraid to ask teachers questions or whatever during class. So maybe you can do that after class, just to get a little bit of extra help and extra understanding from the teachers. And when doing so, don't just stop there. Go home and do a little bit extra. Go the extra mile and do more examples just to check your understanding that it is better than what you had before in class. And then what I did also was to ask my parents, or my mom rather, if there were any external people that would help me with English in particular, because that was my lowest subject. And I would also ask some peers to assist. Like there was a lady named Megan in my school who was top in English. So I would sometimes go to her and ask her, how does she do it? To help assist me, try and somewhat do better than I was doing. And then I would also have some friendly competition with some of my classmates. I remember back in grade 11, after second term, I was like to one of my classmates in the business class that why not just compete for number one? So then that's what we did. We bet on it. And that the next year, I don't know what we bet on, but we bet on something, and the next year the person will be rewarded. So then, end of grade 11, I was top for business, and the end of grade 12, I was also top for business in my class. I do encourage competition, but it also can get very negative. So you must try and balance between friendly competition and negative competition, because the negative competition can really have an effect on your mental stability and your emotional stability. We don't want obviously you guys performing bad because of your mental capacity or your emotional incapacity rather. What I also did was I attended extramurals, which serves as an opportunity to relax from my studies and just spend time with some of my friends as well, because I was playing soccer and I love soccer a lot. So I would obviously play in the first team and play some matches, go to practices, just to release the tension from studying a lot at school. And then lastly, to identify the threats. So what threats could have led me not to achieve my 80% back in grade 9 was obviously the soccer that I was so in love with. May have had an effect on the time I spend on my studies. So I built a timetable just to balance the time between the time I spend with soccer and my studies. And also the threats that you guys might have are that you might have a noisy environment at home or school. So maybe you can just adjust your working space, go to the library, try and ask the members of your household to keep it down while you're studying. And some of the other threats that I identified at home was my household chores or responsibilities. And I would sometimes, try and encourage them to not giving me those chores and responsibilities, but I did have to do them at the end of the day. So just try and find the balance between your threats and your studies. Excuse me. After my SWOT analysis, I did my review, which was with every test that I did and received.
Siyavuya, you're on mute, unfortunately. And if I could please ask the rest of the attendees to kindly mute their microphones.
Oh, sorry. Was I on mute now or was I on mute before?
So this is after you started speaking about the process where you was doing your review, after you've done your SWOT
analysis.
Yeah.
So basically in the review, I would, with every test that I did and received, I would assess the results to see if it was still on par with the goal of getting an 80% aggregate, and do anything better, or try and change any of my systems just to try and alleviate the stress of trying to make my exam look perfect. So, for example, there was a test in I think it was English that I got 69% in, right? And I was like, if I get a 70, it can help me, increase my aggregate to 80% because I was doing well in other subjects. So I would go to my teacher and ask, okay, for this novel, what pointers can I take out from it? How can I study to write an essay better? How to speak better in class, because we would do orals in class. And yeah, I would just ask any advices to increase my marks to make sure that I achieve my end goal, which is 80%. And also with that review, I've watched some National Geographic shows on animals, and I would see that the lion sometimes does not catch its prey, and but with the mentality that it has, it will still continue to search and eventually get its prey. So what's important from that is that even if you do not get the results that you sometimes desire, you should still continue to hunt for a better result in the next opportunity. So for example, in test one, if you got 79 for maths and you want an 80, the next test, try and get an 80. I heard some of you say you didn't get the result that you wanted in term one. So in term two, try to do something different to do better and like the results this time that you want. So then my example is that there was a maths test back in grade 11. I think it was in grade 11. I got 77 for a maths test, which was very disappointing because in every maths test that I've written from grade 10, I always got over 90%. So getting a 70 was just painful. But I went home and I made sure that nothing like that ever happens again. And then in test 3, I got 44 out of 45, which is 98%. So what you can get from that is that don't sulk or be stuck on the bad result that you got, but instead take this result and try and change it in the next test or in the next exam. Another example is that in business studies, my first business report, which was in grade 10 during COVID-19, I got 46%. But later, then in other years in grade 11, grade 12, I began averaging 80% for all my business reports and my overall business mark. And then in grade 12, I achieved an overall of 91% for business studies. So one result doesn't change your future. Just make sure that you take that result and change something in your system to make it better in the next opportunity that you get to change the results. Another thing that you can take from that line mentality video is that you need to love the process. You need to love the process of going home and actually doing work to accomplish your goals. So you must sort of try and be disciplined to like love what you're doing. For example, with me, I didn't love English. I hated English because obviously it's the lowest mark that I got. But when I learned to love the process of reading the novels, going over the notes that I would make after the novels, I then improved my English mark, which was at the end of last year, 73%. So from a 60% to 73%, that's a big jump. So, if you love the process, it will make the process a lot easier and achieving your reward at the end a lot easier. So with that as well, with the process, you need to also be disciplined, right? Because discipline, I believe, is the most important trait that you can have as an individual, because that's what separates you from others. Having discipline means you do not need any external motivation to work. Like, you wouldn't need me right now. Obviously, sometimes from time to time, you do need some motivation, right? And to be disciplined is to like wake up in the morning and work towards your goals, even when you don't want to, or even when you don't have the motivation to, right? So having the discipline is very key into achieving your end goal. Now, also to have discipline also means prioritizing your goals over everything else. So this means postponing your dates that you might have with your significant others. I know we're teenagers and we're exploring new things. So we might bump into people that we may like romantically, and we sometimes need to obviously put our goals before them so that we can improve ourselves before we try and invite people in our lives, right? This also means canceling plans that you have made with your friends. Say an exam is on Monday and you had plans on the Saturday. You might need to cancel the plans just to get more hours in for the exam that you have on Monday. Stopping extra meals to get that extra bit of work done. What I did in matric was during the term 2 exams, there were practices that we had to go to because we had a tournament at the end of the term. But because I wanted to focus on making my matric year easier and to make it look better on my report, was that I told my coach that I needed to study for my exams to get my marks higher and to obviously impress my mom and myself with the results that I want to achieve, right? It also means switching off your phone and using other methods of communications for assistance, because your phone can get distracting with Instagram, TikToks, and the other social media platforms that you guys may use. So rather switch to emailing your teachers, telegramming your friends instead of WhatsApping, because I think Telegram doesn't have a status option. So there wouldn't be any statuses that would distract you from doing your work. And Telegram is a business sort of communicating platform. So rather use that instead of WhatsApp. And yeah, without discipline, I don't think I would have aced my final exam. So having discipline is very important and very key in achieving your end goal. Another important thing that you need to have as teenagers at school, so students going into obviously varsity or later in life, and what you want to achieve is that you need to have balance, right? You need to have balance in your life. You can't always study, right? You can't always lock yourself in your room, study all day, because you're gonna eventually burn out. And when you burn out, you won't achieve the marks that you want to achieve. So I encourage going out with friends occasionally, playing sport, doing hobbies, spending time on yourself emotionally and mentally, because spending your time on yourself is also sort of balancing your non-academic life, right? So it's important now to not study all the time, but make sure that you do study sufficiently and also balance your non-academic life sufficiently as well. In closing, not to impose any of you guys of my religion, but I am a Christian person, and I believe that the very most important thing that helped me succeed was that I stayed in prayer and I gave thanksgiving to the Lord for the opportunity to wake up in the morning and for giving me the strength to accomplish my goals. I also thank the Lord for the small achievements that I would make during the year. So my tests, they didn't count as much as my exam, but if I got just an 80% in one subject or just a 75% in English, I would give thanksgiving, because without him, I wouldn't have achieved that mark, right? So if you guys are religious, I encourage you to continue to do so, pray every day. And yeah, I don't know if I should open the floor for any questions.